The views and opinions expressed are entirely those of the on air participants and do not reflect that of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Commissioner's Corner. My name is Dr. Dionne Wells-Hedrington and I am your host. This show is sponsored by the Virgin Islands Department of Education, and it is an avenue where we keep the community updated on the happenings in the Department of Education, and there are many things happening in this department. We are live on Facebook and YouTube for VIDE as well as WTJX, and live on 93.1 FM every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. So with me today, and we've not been live for quite some time because of other engagements, but it's such a pleasure to be here just to talk a little bit about some of what we have on the horizon at the Virgin Islands Department of Education. And I have two lovely ladies here with me this afternoon. Starting on my left, can you introduce yourself to the community?
Good evening, listening and viewing audience. I am Dr. Renee Charleswell. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Curriculum and Instruction. Happy to be here this evening.
So she's one of my sidekicks. As the Deputy Commissioner, she has oversight over our curriculum, which is a big feat here in the department because we're responsible for making sure that our children are well educated. So thank you, Dr. Charleswell, for being here. And you, Madam?
Hello, good evening. My name is Cydney Meadows, and I am the Director of Sustainability and Agricultural Education.
Great. Nice to have you, Ms. Meadows, Director Meadows. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. And I have to say this disclaimer from off the top. I love to eat. I love to eat.
Yes.
And I love plants. And I would love to see more gardens and so forth in our schools, more push for agriculture, which is something I can't do, but I know it's very important for our community and for our awareness as citizens here in the territory. So it was such a pleasure to have you join the VIDE team and lead this charge. So my first question to you this evening is, what is sustainability? What does that mean to the general public? What is that?
Great question. Sustainability is how we develop our future and how we actually develop it through agricultural pursuits. And as we're developing those agricultural pursuits, what I want to remark upon is that the Virgin Islands has been sustainable and is sustainable. We have so many types of things that are going on here that provide us access to what we are talking about right now, which of course is how we can be better in our future, how we can provide more food sovereignty and food security, and how we can bring prices down by doing that, as well as creating more economic developments.
So when I travel on the Big Island, because I'm over here every week, I see all the land. And initially in my head, I'm like, this is so much land that could be used for more farming and more production of food so that we wouldn't have to rely so heavily on things being transported from continental U.S. here. Because, I fear that there will be a time when that may not happen. It may not happen in a timely fashion. And so how do we make this territory sustainable for us all? And it brings me great joy to see that we are going to incorporate these types of programs within the walls of our schools because our children are not as exposed to agriculture as they should be. especially where we live. So can you talk about, because I know you hit the ground running and you have a lot of ideas. Can you just share a couple of ideas with the community as far as initiatives that you would like to see incorporated into our schools?
Yes, yes, of course. One of my favorite things about the Virgin Islands and sustainability in general is that we already have the ag fair. We already have our, farmers that are planting and growing on a quarter acre. So, with that said, we're going to meet them and enhance those initiatives already there. We're going to bring in more FFA, more 4-H, as well as a
Can you tell them what FFA means?
Of course. And I've been in FFA since I was a young child as well as 4-H. So excuse me for that. But Future Farmers of America, as well as 4-H, and then also Planet Green Force, which is an initiative that's created right here in the Virgin Islands, as well as used in Sri Lanka. So we're going to be able to have more aquaponics, more grow bags, and more hands-on educational initiatives that the students can really take home to their parents as well as get involved in the community. And so those are some of the initiatives. However, we're going to create and build a curriculum that is going to be immersed in Virgin Islands culture and the future sustainable culture of the Virgin Islands.
Sounds good. Dr. Charles Well, Ms. Meadows is definitely a welcomed addition to your team. What is your take on the agriculture projects that you would like to see? And, just hearing the enthusiasm and passion that Director Meadows has is a clear indication that she's all in. So can you talk to us a little bit about your vision as the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for this?
Yes, so absolutely. So Director Meadows came in hitting the ground running. And before Director Meadows took the position, I worked closely with individuals like Harry Rickramer, as well as UVI, and met some wonderful farmers. And for me, or at least the vision initially looked at gardens. But then when you have these conversations and you have these meetings, you look at farming in a wider, broader sense. So looking at the type of careers that can be gained from agriculture. Look at the fishing, the farming in terms of farm animals and the different things that we can do besides just gardening that we can help to sustain our economy. So my thing is that exposure is key. Exposure and giving students that awareness and that igniting that passion, because a conversation has to start not when we have the time or when money becomes available, but it should be an everyday conversation when it comes to agriculture and sustainability. We have to recognize this as a way of life. It's something that we do, just like we talk about math and we talk about science and we talk about language arts. It has to be a regular conversation. So exposure is key. So my vision is not just to look at how we can do things in isolation in our schools, but the wider picture in terms of looking at it from a city component, the different careers that we can gain through agriculture.
And I like that you said that, because one of the things as commissioner of this department is I want to make sure that, we have a wide array of selections and possibilities for our students, that, we show them this platter and they are able to have choice. And have choice with the understanding of what it would take, with the understanding of what the possibilities are for expansion and growth, especially here in the territory. And I see like agribusiness. I remember when we went to the Career and Technical Fair in Frederiksted last year, I saw agribusiness proposals. I saw our children loving agriculture. And I know, coming from St. John, coming from St. Thomas, going to school, we didn't have much exposure to agriculture as, you have the land in St. Croix, you have the farmers in St. Croix more than in St. Thomas. And so I want to see that grow. I want to see us understanding and our students understanding what this really means and what the possibilities are. What are some of the career tracks that a student could have in this particular field?
Wow, now that is the best question. And as a person who has been in this field my entire life, it wasn't until I actually went off to college and saw all of the people who wanted to be doctors around me all the people who are actually creating government, legislature, government officials through this. And so some of those positions can be, because we're going to get into that part, of course, are going to be biotechnology and how we grow our food more effectively. And again, I also mentioned this is the exact trajectory that a doctor would actually use, because this is how you're able to get into the body structures. You're able to create nurses from this programming. You're able to create more farmers, more business-minded people. And when you're looking at this, over 97% of our food is actually shipped in and imported into the Virgin Islands.
With chemicals.
With chemicals, right? And we're a very natural people here. And so when I'm thinking about that, that means that there's so many opportunities in just farming, if we just looked at that alone, that we can provide opportunities for our people. And so just looking at the members in the government, Future Farmers of America, we do debate in that. We have supervised agricultural experiences where people are doing crop judging and animal judging. So it's so vast. I often say that we should have an FFA nomenclature, because that is how many jobs are created through agriculture.
So why do you think that we need more sustainability in the Virgin Islands?
Well, I have such an interesting thought process on that. And as we begin to bring in the youth even more with this, everyone here in the Virgin Islands has agriculture in their heart. We do have growers out there in Bordeaux. We do have farmers and agricultural pursuits on St. John. And so as we water those seeds in the seed banks in our hearts, we're going to be able to provide access to better, cleaner food, have more sustainable lands, because we also do have tourism. So we want to make sure that we're not damaging any of our properties here, right? And so when we're growing our food here and it's local, and we've been working with the local Food and Farm Council, that means that our lands are supported, our local farmers are able to sell to local purveyors and sellers. So we have lots of food markets, and we can increase the amount of foods that we have right here in the Virgin Islands. And that's why it's so important, because if the children eat it, if they grow it, they will eat it.
And enjoy it.
Yes.
And enjoy it. And so you said the seeds, are planted in the hearts of us all. And there has to be a desire and an understanding of the importance of having sustainability and agriculture within our curriculum. And so I know that when we talk about it, a lot of the locals are smiling, because it's about time. It is about time. And so the time is here. I am very positive that we have the right person in the seat, because I find that when you have a passion for something, you don't need to be pushed. You don't need to be extrinsically motivated. It's inside of you.
Yes.
So that seed is already in your heart, and I can tell just from the brief conversation that we have. So I know this is a win-win, Dr. Charles.
Yes, it is.
Way to go. So who is the sustainability for? And I'm asking you these targeted questions because the general public hears the word sustainability. Well, what are we sustaining? Well, don't you have to have something to sustain before you start to sustain? I could hear the questions, and we want to make sure that the community understands the significance of this position, of this opportunity, of this movement, because that's what I call it. It's a movement. It's a shift in our mindsets. It's a shift in what we are producing out of our schools. Is a shift in our children respecting Mother Nature, understanding how plants grow, understanding that just like you have to be watered every day with the knowledge in order for you to grow, the same care is needed in the agriculture business. So who is sustainability for?
It is for all of us. Okay. The Ag Plan, which is Act 8404, mandated sustainability. Now, I always want to make sure that people think of sustainability and agricultural education, because it is for all of us. Yes, we want to water those seeds in the youth. However, even in the more concrete soils of are older people. We have the Agricultural Business Center, we have UVI, we have the local Food and Farm Council. We have services developed for everyone here in the Virgin Islands, from age birth to our eldest. And that is exactly who sustainability is for, because like you like to eat, I do too, and we all like to eat. And it's one of those things where when I was at the Future Farmers of America conference, I kept on hitting on that food is not vintage, it's not old, we eat every single day. Farming is not something to be left behind. And so we're sustaining all of these initiatives that we already have here in the Virgin Islands. We're sustaining our USDA, our UVI, and we're sustaining our natural cultural inferences of agriculture here in the Virgin Islands.
So, Dr. Charles, well, you remember the aquaponics set up at Wells-Hedrington High School?
Yes.
What was your take on that when it was in operation?
So for me, it was, why doesn't all the schools have an aquaponics center? Because I saw how entrenched the students were with that particular aquaponics. When I visited the school, there were students that were actually manning this aquaponics center. So for me, it's, if they can be that dedicated at that age, imagine starting something like that from elementary, starting it from early. Getting students involved, because for me, Commissioner, it's, we need to understand that this can be a way of life. It is. And my thing is, so if, for example, if I go to Fruit Bowl, or if I have the option of going to Fruit Bowl or just buying from a local farmer, you tend to think that if you go to a store, it's better kept, it's better grown, but we know chemicals come into play. So why are we not supporting more of our local farmers? Why is it that we're quicker to run into a store and purchase something rather than just going to a local market? And so I think that the expansion and the explosion of local farming needs to be on a wider scale, and it needs to be supported such that folks understand it's going to come a time where we're not going to get things shipped in the way we want. So for example, I'm waiting on an Amazon package now for weeks. What happens when there's a storm or something happens and we can't get the food in the way we would like to? So we need, it's just such a wide range of things that could just happen that we need to understand. This is this is the way of life, plain and simple. For me, like I said, once I started to have those conversations with the local farmers and have those meetings with UVI, it really opened my senses, like, what have we been doing? Like, really, like, we really need to make this a set aside. Something should we not understand that this is the way that we need to operate all year round? So I am happy with Director Meadows being on board, because she came in like superwoman. I heard him say, there's nobody here to save us, but trust and believe, Commissioner, Director Meadows is on it. She is really passionate. It's like when I see her emails on her and get her texts and her calls, I'm like, oh my God. She kind of pulls me away and puts me into that perfect world that this is something that could be our reality. It can actually be our reality, and we want to start from the little ones and bring it all the way up.
And that's exactly what we are going to do, and that is your charge, exposing our children from elementary school all the way up to high school, and making sure that our children understand why agriculture is important, why we have to have sustainability here in the islands. We have so many examples that we could give them that our service could be interrupted just like that. And what happens? Commissioners still need to eat. You need to eat, and so we have to educate our people. And it's more than just the work that we're doing in school. We have to educate our parents as well. Right. And you said something that really stuck with me. We'll quicker go into the supermarket to buy produce than go into the market and buying from a local farmer. So even as Virgin Islanders, we have to check our habits as well, because you made me reflect, because I'm one of those, a quick stop here and I'm gone home. And, that doesn't benefit those who have chosen to farm for their life, as their lifestyle, as their profession, as their craft. They need to be supported as well. And so, it is my hope that as we work to push this movement that our students are able to grow produce that could be used in our kitchens, that could be used to flavor their own food, and I think that would be just powerful for them to be able to showcase the produce that they've grown, and even invite people from the community to come in and sample what they put their hard sweat and time into. And so I am truly excited. I do believe this is a priority. I do believe that things happen just at the right time. And I do believe it's not by happenstance that you're here. And you're here to help us to get it right, to help us to get our curriculum in alignment with the things that we know are important to us as Virgin Islanders, and that is agriculture. And so I am just excited to dive deeper into this conversation with you on Friday. Director Meadows will be on live with VIDE, where we will get into the weeds. We will talk a little bit more about the Future Farmers of America's program. How could we expand it? We'll talk about the elementary programs and the different initiatives that you want to pilot in our schools. We'll talk more in depth so that our community understands why agriculture is one of our priorities for this year and what it is that we expect to see as the fruit from our labor. Because it's all about education, it's all about giving our children choice, it's all about creating a better Virgin Islands. So I am excited.
I am too.
And hopefully you'll make me a farmer too. Who knows?
We're all
there may
farmers.
be hope for me. I just feel like I just don't have the right.
The green tongue.
The tongue, yeah.
You'll be
and
shocked.
I probably will be shocked. But it is definitely something that we must stay vigilant about and focused on. So we're just about close to wrapping up our time. This is a quick show. So Director Meadows, what would you like to leave with the community before we go?
What I would like to leave is that when we have agriculture in our schools, we have higher attendance, we have more engaged students, we have better literacy. We can educate students with their, all the way down to kindergarten with their colors. We can educate all the way up to the senior level with Latin, with the scientific names. There's so much that agriculture creates for our students. And I'm so excited to be here with everyone and keep fertilizing and watering those seeds of agriculture that we all have within us.
I love the fertilizing and watering of the seeds. But you said something that I want to touch on very quickly. I had the opportunity in my previous capacity as Chief Operations Officer to engage with other school districts and just looking at, how the current technical education programs are being implemented in high schools. And so in this particular high school in Arizona, West Mac is the name of the high school. They have actual forts, right? And so the children will enter into high school with an interest. They will do the interest-based surveys, and they will place them in the forts depending on what type of discipline they were interested in. But within the fort, they would have English that's tied to agriculture. Let's say it's a fourth. They would have math tied to agriculture. They would have science. Of course, we know the link right there. And all of the supporting curriculum disciplines would support the base of agriculture. And I think if we were able to get to that level, and I think we do have the possibility of getting there as we're rebuilding our schools here in the territory, the interest level of our children would increase, hands down, because they would be researching something that is passionate for them. They would be more interested in that mathematical equation because I got to know how much square feet to use of this land or whatever it is, and how to apply this mathematical concept to farming. It would have such a bigger impact. And even at the elementary level, having unit collaborative planning could
Exactly.
really enhance agriculture. So I'm just thinking as you were speaking, I was like, what? Maybe this is the time.
It makes it useful and practical.
Of course,
And
relevant.
yes, it makes it relevant. And that is what we need with all of our math and our English and our basic structure and subjects.
Correct.
And that's why agriculture excites me so much, because it's everywhere we look.
We look. Awesome. Dr. Charles Will.
So, Commissioner, I'm here thinking on the technology. And when I say technology, because again, remember we're now in an era where technology runs the world.
Of
So
course.
even with our students, back in the day, we'll go outside and, we'll play, skip, jump, hop. Students aren't doing that anymore. So the thing for me now, I'm thinking and I'm reflecting, how do we get our students outside and in the dirt and all the good things that can happen? And making that link between technology and agriculture sustainability, and just having programs that they can from the young ones, having programs that they can actually see even on an iPad or a computer, and seeing how the connection happens between what they're going to be doing practically outside evolve on a screen, and kind of making that connection, because I know the challenge is going to be getting students outside into the door. The ones that are really interested, hands down, they're going to get involved. But then we need to again pick the interest and the awareness of those who prefer to sit at home, watching the television or on an iPad. So making that connection, that relevance, making it relevant across the curriculum, so that in every subject area there's a touch of it there, and it's actually there. But again, making that exposure a reality. So I'm sitting and I'm just thinking, technology, agriculture. We have to make sure that connection
There's a
happens.
link.
Yes.
And I agree. And so, when educators get in a room, guys, we just explode. And so we could be talky, chatty forever.
So much to say
of
now.
all of the possibilities that we can see this evolving into. And so as we are getting ready to wrap up community, you've met Director Meadows tonight. And VIDE is blessed to have her on board. And I am just looking forward to a major movement of agriculture and an awareness of sustainability and the importance for our community. And so stay tuned on Friday. She'll be back on live with VIDE. And I want to thank you for being here with us on the Commissioner's Corner tonight at 5:30 every Tuesday here on WTJX YouTube and Facebook page, as well as VIDE's Facebook and YouTube page at 93.1 FM. Have a blessed evening. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed are entirely those of the on-air participants and do not reflect that of the station's board, management, staff, or underwriters.